Basically, we are looking at learning disabilities in children with hearing loss. And this particular review was put down by Daniel Savegnago, Leonardo Franz, Marco Gubanel, Charagallo, Osimo De Filippis, Gino Leoni, Elisabetta Genovese. I am Ronald Mulugo. So for the, I'm looking at the general, like the overview. So today we are basically looking at a systematic review, and this review explores the connection between hearing difficulties, specifically permanent hearing loss, and recurrent otitis media fusion, and also learning challenges in children. But the study reviewed 924 articles published between 2000 and 2023, but only 4 of these articles met the strict criteria for inclusion. So the findings are basically so important. Children who received early intervention before the age of 6 months showed stronger kindergarten readiness. But on the other hand, children with recurrent ear infections scored lower in reading and phonological awareness. Deaf and hard of hearing, sometimes we abbreviate this as DHH, children showed consistent deficits in decoding, comprehension, and memory. But the review also highlighted a research gap because very few studies looked at the long-term effects of hearing loss on learning outcomes. Sometimes we urgently need more evidence on such matters. So, according to this, this is the author's perspective. So, the authors emphasize that language acquisition in early childhood is critical, and missing that window can affect literacy in the life after. So they also pointed out that traditional diagnostics levels like dyslexia basically can sometimes overlap with sensory impairments, making assessments sometimes really hard and complicated. So their call is clear, and we need early screening. And then after screening, we need to come up with tailored sort of teaching approaches and some longitudinal studies to fully understand the impact, because some of the findings are like shallow and we would want something that goes on and on for some time, and then we can establish like some evidence kind of approach. So they also reminded us that factors like maternal education and access to health care played a very important role in the success of these children. So in the end, these guys concluded that evidence is still limited, but more targeted research is needed to guide educators and clinicians. Um, as far as the reactions are concerned, um, I deeply value the author's efforts to connect sensory health with academic readiness, and this area is often overlooked in education, and the emphasis on early intervention relates strongly with my work uh, while I'm supporting students who are within who are having these kinds of difficulties, basically exceptional learners. However, this reviews limitations of only 4 studies. It showed a significant research gap, especially in multilingual or developing country contexts, like Uganda. For me, this article reinforced the belief that inclusive education requires collaboration between the medical, social, we have families, we have the academic systems. All these have to be put together to come up with something that is really meaningful. So, and finally, I found that the analysis of phonological awareness deficits, particularly practical ones, because it gives a concrete idea or concrete areas of target when learning the interventions. So, we are looking at now the implications to this practice. So, this research has clear implications for our practice as educators, basically like me. So first, it reinforces the need for early screening for hearing loss and recurrent ear infections. Yeah, it does that. We need early screening because sometimes our children are labeled as struggling, but it's because of just a hear thing or hear loss that sometimes can be, put right. And secondly, it encourages us to embed phonological awareness and decoding interventions into our literacy instructions. But we cannot work in isolation. Collaboration with audiologists, speech therapists, families, basically, we have to work hand in hand because this is critical once we are dealing with providing support that is holistic for our children. We also need to use evidence-based assessments and to adjust instruction so that it meets the sensory as well as cognitive needs. I do this a lot at school because I assess my kids, and after assessing, I recommend like to my supervisor, and sometimes I have to create like a modified program, basically like in math, to support these children. I don't change the content. Okay, I give them the exact content, but I try to modify the language for them, and also like reducing on the number of questions we're supposed to attempt. Um, we also like in future. We need to communicate proactively with parents and health providers, applying universal design for learning principles and advocating for access to hearing technology. The message is clear. When we address sensory health early, we give children the foundation they need for academic success. So after that, my last one was basically where I got this information, and this is from the American Journal of Otolaryngology. This name, Otolaryngology, and it was 2024, the American Journal of Otolaryngology, 45 and 104439 on this website. So, yeah, thank you so much.